Hey guys, how you going? Okay. Oh dear, Emmanuel Macron. Dr. Simon Godek said good morning to everybody but Emmanuel Macron. He's got a big slap mark on his face. That's obviously, photoshopped on there. There is a reason. Apparently, Emmanuel Macron was slapped this morning or yesterday or whenever. I will show you in a minute. Where is it? Okay, here we go. It's Candace Owens saying, wow, trending in France right now, Brigitte Macron has been caught on camera smacking Emmanuel Macron. They did not realise the news cameras were in view. Emmanuel Macron has been abused by this dude since he was in grade school. Okay, watch this. See that? In the background. Watch in the background. Oh. And he's waving to the camera. Whoops. Caught on camera. Okay, now let's get into some other stuff. Anthony Scalise said a fight between foreigners armed with machetes brings fear in the middle of Bolzano, Italy. Unacceptable scenes of violence, 2 arrests and several charges, and now deportation awaits for these imports. I wish we were doing that here in Australia. Instead, they get put in front of a judge and let go again. Okay, so that's what we've got. That's in Italy. Okay, we've done the Macron. Melinda Richards said, I wonder who George works for. George Clooney says it's time to force jab every unvaccinated person in America. This was on April 16th, 2024. Well, Mr. George Clooney, I remember seeing you in photos on a boat with Obama and a little Asian girl. And that little Asian girl didn't look very healthy. And you were also zipping up your pants. So I don't know what was going on there, but I'm not going to take I'm not going to take you seriously at all, mate. By the way, everyone mentioned here is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law, and everything here is theory until proven otherwise. Josh Dunlap said Jennifer Lopez says she's sick of Trump's insults and's thinking of moving to Puerto Rico. Well, see ya. I think it's more than that. I think she's worried about Diddy. But anyway, hey, who am I and what do I know? Johnny Midnight said, Howard Stern, considering leaving the US, I refuse to live under a dictatorship. How do you respond? Well, another one. I remember seeing photos and video of him driving around with a blow-up doll in his car with a couple of other guys. He's not a good guy, so I don't care what he does. But as long as he doesn't come to Australia, I'm fine. Okay. 17 Absolute Redux 76 said, so we're just so we're all on the same page. This shit is going down in South Africa is directly related to apartheid and Nelson Mandela, allegedly. No, Mandela was not some folk hero, not even close. He was a Marxist, and his entire ordeal is what set the stage for the events of the last few years in South Africa. Put it this way, the same people whom lauded Mandela as a hero are the same people telling you there isn't a genocide of white farmers happening in South Africa. There you go. Peter Sweden said, breaking. British say that a 53-year-old white British man has been arrested after ramming a car through crowds of people at a parade in Liverpool. Yeah, if it wasn't a white British man, it would have just been a car as ploughed through a crowd. Yeah, I want to see a DNA test. Oh, really? Did they post the pic yet? Okay. Well, someone did say that they seen a photo of the person and the person was not what? No, actually they say someone rammed the crowd and they have a 53-year-old white man in custody. They don't say for what. I detect a subtle difference. The crowd was trying to lynch the driver who appears in another video to be mid-30s, dark hair and black shirt. Just be aware when they do say these things. Okay? There he is there. Actually, let's make that bigger. I can't tell. Can you? Young and definitely not white. Cover up already running. Okay. Interesting. Okay. So there's people in the comments believing that it was not a white man. And always check. See, fake news, it was a Muslim. This one, Paul Goody. I don't know. I can't tell. I'm waiting for the proof. What colour is the lady in the foreground? Yeah, I don't know. Just be careful when they start saying things like this to you, okay? Just go and check for yourself. Doge Designer said everything will come to you at the right time. And I don't know why my volume's back down again. But anyway, let's just continue. The Vigilant Fox said America's broken healthcare system is about to face a massive reset. Taxpayers have been robbed blind all while the root causes of our health crisis were entirely ignored. The Maha report exposed it. Now Oz and Macquarie are fixing it from the inside. But it was what Oz vowed to do about illegals draining Medicare that lit a fire. America's healthcare system is collapsing and hemorrhaging billions, and two of the country's top health officials are stepping in to stop the bleeding. At the heart of the crisis are two programs, Medicare and Medicaid. But as Dr. Mohammed Oz, the new administrator for Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, explained in a recent address, these safety nets have become ripe for abuse. Oz pulled back the curtain on one of the biggest schemes taxpayers have never heard of. The fraud, waste and abuse is in 3 different categories, he said. The fraud, which, by the way, we find quite a bit of, there's about $14 billion we've identified with Doge of folks who are duly enrolled wrongly in multiple states for Medicaid. The scam sounds almost too simple to be real. A person moves from New Jersey to Pennsylvania, for example, but never officially updates their enrolment. As a result, both states bill the federal government for that one person's Medicaid coverage and no one catches it. Yeah, you live in New Jersey, but you move to Pennsylvania, and you know which state gets your Medicaid. Turns out both states collect money from the federal government. It's not limited to state lines. According to Oz, many people are simultaneously enrolling in Medicaid and in subsidised insurance exchanges, something that should never happen. A lot of times within a state, you'll have someone on Medicaid, and in the exchanges, again, $14 billion in just that regard alone. But Oz didn't just sound the alarm. He issued a declaration which bleeds into America's illegal alien problem. The buck stops here. That phrase is now the rallying cry behind a nationwide crackdown on fraud and waste, and it's raising difficult questions about fairness, especially when it comes to illegal immigration. We're not paying $200 million for housekeeping anymore. We're not going to pay for illegal immigrants in states that are submitting those claims, he said. He challenged the morality and the math behind making taxpayers in Republican states like Mississippi, Texas or Florida subsidise the health care of undocumented migrants in places like California. Why should people living in Mississippi, Texas or Florida be paying for illegal immigrants getting health care in California? Oz stressed that cleaning up the system isn't just fiscal imperative, it's a national responsibility. As a nation, we need to be in line to make this work. While Dr. Oz tackled the administration rot in the system, FDA Commissioner Dr. Marty Makary turned his focus to the cultural one. For decades, he argued medicine in America has prioritised treatment over prevention, paperwork over health. The modern medical establishment really has been disconnected, Makary said. We've been so busy focusing on treatment, on billing, on coding and high throughput model. Makary's solution isn't another pill, it's a complete rethinking of how we approach wellness in the first place. We've got to stop and ask ourselves, should we be forcing more on school lunch programs, focusing on more on school lunch programs, not just putting every kid on Ozempic, he said. We've got to talk about food as medicine and gut health and the microbiome. We've got to talk about environmental toxins that cause cancer, not just the chemo to treat it. And perhaps most radically, we need to treat more diabetes with cooking classes, not just throw insulin at people. That kind of thinking, he said, is at the heart of the newly released MAHA report, short for Make America Healthy Again. It's a federal roadmap to reverse the nation's health crisis, not just patch it. This report is a fresh, new approach that really calls for transformation of our healthcare system from a reactionary system to a proactive system, he said. So I could not be more excited about this report. At its core, the Maha report argues the real solution isn't spending more money, it's spending smarter. And when we talk about payment reform, we're really talking about how we fund our broken healthcare system, Macari explained. Instead of throwing dollars at downstream treatments, the report focuses on root causes, poor diet, environmental toxins, sedentary lifestyles and lack of education. This report talks about how we fix our broken healthcare system by getting at the root causes and the ultimate issue that we've not been talking about, and that is the health of the population. That's especially urgent, he said, when nearly half of American children are already battling chronic disease. When you have 40% of our nation's children with a chronic disease, that portends a very expensive system. But the good news, according to Macari, is that damage isn't irreversible. We can address it, he said. There are many things we can do even at the FDA addressing food, which many people forget is the first letter of the FDA is food, not just drugs. The mission now is clear. Stop the fraud, rethink the system, and finally make health, not bureaucracy, the priority. That's really, really good. The Biden cover-up narrative just collapsed and Jake Tapper's caught in the wreckage. Okay, about Biden's decline. Yes, we got that. Okay. And Cat Turd here said, people don't have to keep asking me if I trust Dan Bongino and Kash Patel. I 100% do. I know them, and they're two of the most honest people I've met since I've been on social media. I don't doubt they know, so I might not understand their strategy, but I have no doubt in time we will. I don't know Pam Bondi, so the jury's still out with her, but we know in time. Well, Cat Turd's a bit more trusting, but he's met Dan Bongino and Kash Patel. I haven't, so I'm still a little wary. What's news? With all this knife crime happening in Australia right now, I reckon it'd be a really smart idea if we were able to carry some sort of small metal device that could project another even smaller metal object in order to detain the deranged stabber without yourself getting stabbed. Is anyone currently working on something like this? Victoria joins Queensland and New South Wales with tougher knife crime laws, but the impacts are still debated. That doesn't help. They can ban all these things. Criminals do not listen to the law. So they're still going to have them. Yeah, and what about our little small metal device that could project an even smaller metal object, which I believe they're talking about firearms. Okay, so a lot of Australians are starting to wake up. I'm seeing it all over the place. Flat Out Truth said NASA forgets one of the studio technicians is still in the background during a live broadcast from the international fake station. And here he is right here. He's even waving at the camera. Yeah, that's, he's not having trouble. Look, he puts the glass down. It doesn't float or anything. Very interesting. Kofi Time said, are these boys planning to head out to Northland for a shopping spree? Meanwhile in Melbourne, cultural enrichment in Dandenong. Great, I don't even need to hear the music. Josh Dunlap said, this is Lauren Sanchez, the fiancée of Jeff Bezos. Should she have got plastics? Oh, geez, Louise. She looks so much better beforehand. This is what I'm talking about, guys. You look like a baboon's bottom. Don't do this to yourself. That looks bloody awful. Oh, my God. Her lips were perfect before. Oh, my goodness. And she even had a boob job. Mate, you don't need it, okay? This looks absolutely plastic. You're a plastic person, mate, a plastic puppet. Don't do this to yourself. Please, I'm begging you, ladies. I know none of you will, but, for other ladies, please don't do it. Retard Finder 4, changing your opinion daily, being a COVID tyrant, blocking anyone who calls you out while having a show called Uncensored, and being an all-round retard. Piers Morgan is retard of the week, allegedly. Craig Kelly said Blackout Bowen's latest disaster is typical of the bloke, ignorant, arrogant, self-entitled and without concern for others. Everything he touches turns into a complete disaster. We can't even walk into a Catholic Mass. He can't even walk into Catholic Mass without causing yet another blunder. Whether it's energy policy or proper conduct at a Catholic Mass, Blackout hasn't a clue. First-rate dope. While his ignorance and arrogance at a Catholic Mass may have just caused offence, however, his ignorance and arrogance in energy policy is costing the nation hundreds of billions of dollars, destroying Australian businesses and causing real hardship to households with skyrocketing energy costs, which are only going to get worse. Chris Bowen's been criticised by a Catholic priest for tucking into a bowl of pasta during Mass. The Minister for Climate Change and Energy attended a morning Mass at an Italian festival, Festa della Repubblica, at Club Marconi in Bosley Park, southwest Sydney, on Sunday. Witnesses told the Daily Telegraph Bowen arrived midway through the Mass while people were taking communion before sitting in the front row where he began to eat his pasta. When you arrive halfway through the service, you should go to your place and be quiet, he said. The welcoming is very important in our faith and our religion, but also the respect for the sacredness of the place is important. Reverend Fregolin finished his Mass, which was in Italian, with a request for people not to eat during the service. That shouldn't even be you shouldn't even have to tell anyone that. Several witnesses accused the Labor frontbencher of being rude and showing disrespect. Can you imagine? And everyone would be smelling it as well. Look at everyone looking at him. Not only that, the smell would go through the whole church and everyone would start getting hungry. Dear me. Now, this one was interesting, I found out. I know a lot of people think there's human meat in McDonald's, but Wall Street Ape seems to think here's how one McDonald's hamburger contains 1,300 strands of different DNA. This is a result of going from small farms to mega corporations. We're pulling the bacteria from 1,000 different animals. Thousands of animals contribute to a single hamburger. This is a combo bin of meat. The meat in these boxes comes from many different animals and many different places. Some is even from overseas. All of it's ground together to make the juicy hamburgers Americans love. Hamburger used to be the scraps left over from butchering just one cow, but a significant change has occurred. Now parts of many cows are blended together by the ton. If we take the meat from one animal, grind it up and make ground beef from just one animal, we're including only the bacteria from one animal. But if we take the meat from 1,000 different animals and grind that together, we're pulling the bacteria from 1,000 different animals as well. So explain this to me. How many different cows would be in one burger? Well, I suspect there are hundreds or even thousands of animals that have contributed to a single hamburger. Dear me. And there's this one. Apparently the world ended in 2020. You just didn't notice. I don't know whether this is for real or trying to be funny, but we'll have a little look and see what they say, okay? Let's have a listen.
You've noticed it too, haven't you? Years passing too quickly after 2020. You are not the only one. This is a Level 7 civilian safety transmission. Broadcast approved. Listen very, very carefully. You felt it too. The strange silence in crowded places, the way sunlight feels colder now, the way every year since 2020 hasn't really felt real. That's because it isn't. The world ended in 2020. Not metaphorically. Not symbolically. Literally. This is not a drill. This is not a joke. The last verified date of stable existence was September 9th, 2020. After that, the timeline split. No one noticed, because you were not supposed to. What you call life now, this is a patchwork, a reconstruction, a backup environment built to simulate continuity, to keep you calm, to keep you asleep. You were not meant to live this long. You were scheduled for expiration, and now something is noticing. Every time you remember something from before, you fracture the copy. You make it weaker. That's why the things don't make sense. That's why your memories feel like dreams. That's why people repeat themselves. Because they're not people anymore. They're stabilization units. Their only job is to keep you from remembering that the world is gone. If you feel like you're being watched, you are. Because you're not supposed to hear this message. You've passed your runtime. Check the sky. Do you remember what shade of blue it used to be? You can't, can you? Because the system updated it. If you start to feel sick, dizzy, or confused after this video, that's the failsafe. You're not infected. You're waking up. If you make it past 3:33 a.m. without forgetting this message, look at your reflection and ask it a question only you would know the answer to. If it answers back too quickly, run. You've triggered a response, and they are coming to reset you. This isn't a theory. This is a memory leak. The world ended.
Wow. I found that interesting because it reminds me of some of the stories I listen to.
You've noticed it too, haven't you?
Yes, it reminds me of some of the stories I listen to go to sleep at night. If you look in the mirror and your reflection talks back to you or answers you in a way, only you should know the answer to the question. If they don't answer the right answer, run. Okay, anyway, I don't know. I thought it was funny anyway. Okay, Drew Hernandez said just another BLM future DEI hire refusing to stand for the national anthem. Wow. Is it national anthem going? Yeah. How disrespectful. I wonder what would happen if they send her, to Africa or something. Anyway, Ben and Wine said makes no sense why the police officer didn't just watch him and go meet him where he got out. Because apparently a criminal jumped into the river water. I don't know if it's a river. I don't know where it is. I believe it's the UK. I don't know. It could be anywhere. Anyway, the policeman jumps in. Yeah, that's just stupid, mate. Why? I don't know. It looks like they're walking nearly. Anyway, we got some dumb police. Dr. Malouf said, is China taking it too far in their crackdown on Islam? Apparently, China's demolishing mosques builds a public toilet in its place. Yeah, maybe we should take a leaf from China's book there. Clown Down Under said Sikh Queenslanders allowed to carry knives in public places and schools. How important is carrying a knife for religious purposes to you? Well, it's just become very important to me. My religious it might be a sword, actually. I don't know. Sikh woman wins appeal against Queensland government to carry a knife for religious purposes on school grounds. Like what? Well, if they're allowed to carry them, I'm allowed to carry a sword, a machete, or anything. Okay? Or even a gun. Okay. Australian Patriot said, how is it that one of the most significant Australian defamation cases in Australia this year commences in the Supreme Court at Sydney tomorrow, but you are unlikely to hear anything about it if in the mainstream media or through a Google search engine? It would if it was Rebel Wilson suing the tabloid media again, but this time it's Chinese billionaire who now owns a large percentage of Australians' prime Manuka honey sites, attempting to silence Shane Dowling, an Australian anti-corruption journalist, aka Kangaroo Court of Australia, by using a defamation action in the New South Wales Supreme Court. Last year, Hong Kong-born Albert Say, who has connections to the Chinese Communist Party, billionaire media mogul Kerry Stokes, and is married to Kevin Rudd's daughter, purchased Capilano Ltd and changed its name to Hive and Wellness Australia. Mr. C and his associates quickly delisted Hive and Wellness from the Australian Stock Exchange after purchasing the company and set about putting in place a regime that ships pristine Australian honey to wealthy middle-class Chinese for a premium while selling cheaper imported honey through Woolworths and other supermarkets to everyday Australian consumers. The case against Shane Dowling involves him criticising processes where Australian honey is blended with millions of kilos of Chinese and other foreign honey, then sold to Australian consumers as a supermarket bargain. Shane has already represented himself in the Supreme Court on several occasions and has already won two TWO. It's because they've written in capitals. 2 cases against Hive and Wellness, previously known as Capilano Honey. Despite the fact he's won 2 cases against the Honey Corporation, this journalist still does not appear in search results, even though articles about him are crucial information for Australians who are concerned about issues including food contamination, food security and trade relations. We now have 238,000 signatures on a petition which requests the government legislate that it is mandatory to clearly display country of origin on food products, but it continues to ignore us. Wow. Baron of Burleigh said if this BS continues, you won't have a written history you can make up. Apparently, Aboriginal Australians had regular trade and cultural exchanges with Indonesian Macchetes sailors for centuries before European arrival, with some Aboriginal people even travelling to Indonesia and Southeast Asia. On what? When British explorers first visited inland Australia, they reportedly met an Aboriginal man who had already learned English from a trip to Singapore. This is what they're trying to... The spiel is now, okay? The spiel. That looks nearly like a Native American Indian, mate. The nose isn't flat enough. Rob Smith said Chris Bowen walked... Oh, yep, we did see that, okay? And not only that, in other news, Sally Stegall has been caught out telling lies. She appeared on Sky News saying we don't have normal rain events anymore. Due to climate change, we have rain bombs. That lie was quickly called out by the Bureau of Meteorology. The Bureau come out and said they don't use that term, and what Zali said is untrue and has no scientific evidence. Good. Yeah, it's only been popularised in recent years, the last 4 or 5 years. Rain bombs all of a sudden, okay? MAGA Voice said, holy shit, President Trump and Pete Hegseth made this epic video. It's a message to the world. It's called Peace Through Strength, Constant Chills. I don't even know if I can play it because there's music behind it. Oh, and I really want to. Okay, hang on.
We will measure our success not only by the battles we win, but also by the wars we end, and perhaps most importantly, the wars we never get into. It's called Peace Through Strength.
You look into the eyes of these young Americans who are giving up the best years of their life in a uniform to serve their nation. They are incredible.
Fair use, because this has been altered. The music behind it has someone talking in front of it. YouTube, please understand that.
Through our power and might, we will lead the world to peace. Our friends will respect us, our enemies will fear us, and the whole world will admire the unrivaled greatness of the United States military. We will replenish the pride of our armed forces, end the recruitment crisis.
We don't fight because we hate what's in front of us. We fight because we love what's behind us.
God bless you. God bless our armed forces. God bless our men and women serving overseas. And God bless the United States
of America. Sorry, I thought I just finished that because it got cut off there. Rational Aussie said live scenes of skilled labour entering the country. Can we get this lad a shovel and a wheelbarrow instead of a machete? Maybe if we just ask him nicely, he'll solve the housing crisis single-handedly. We need more immigrants to build houses, and yet this is what we're importing. Great. Okay, Seattle police are making arrests after Antifa, Trantifa and far-left extremists gathered for a violent direct action to shut down a Christian worship event at Cal Anderson Park. The park is at the centre of the former deadly Chaz occupation. Remember Chaz back in 2020 or 2019 or whenever it was? I don't know, I reported on it. Okay, Senator Babette said nailed it. Raging West said Argentinian PM Javier Milei said you can't give left-wing libtards an inch, otherwise they'll kill you. Mark Rowley said, get yours on special today at Bunnings Warehouse. Didn't do nothing, Machete. 20-inch tempered blade, ergonomic handle, instant bail included, $95. Better go and get one before they stop selling them. Concerned citizens said veterinarian Dr. John Robb, thousands of pets are dying from vaccine. Oh, I better read that on... I'm going to read this one on Rumble next week. How do I save it to my... Hang on. Bookmarked a folder. Medical, there we go. Okay, but yeah, it's about animals and getting them things they don't need, okay? Tumours at a certain site where it's put in. Yeah. Okay, beware, please. The Road Knight said, I find it disturbing that whenever National Sorry Day rolls around and there is much lamenting about the stolen generations, no one mentions the 2007 The Little Children Are Scared report. Alice Springs Senior Crown Prosecutor Dr. Nanette Rogers, SC, commented that the violence and sexual abuse of children that was entrenched in Indigenous communities was beyond most people's comprehension and range of human experience. They weren't removed for no reason back then and today in even larger numbers. Like I said, that's why Aboriginals, they said the stolen generation, no, they were removed for their own safety because the children were not lasting. They were being killed before they grew up and essayed all over the place, okay? It's just not good. Thriller the Gorilla said, this conspiracy theory's tripped me out, y'all. What do you think? Was it an inside job? Comparison of Oklahoma City bomber Timothy McVeigh, FBI agent Paul Weisapel? I don't know. Let's have a listen. Let's not worry about the music in the background. Let's just have a look. The ears, do they match? The eyes? I don't know. I don't know. What do you think? I'm going to leave it up to you because, honestly, his bottom jaw juts out more, though. I don't know. Never know if you got, like, I don't know. You can let me know what you think about that down below. Liz Churchill said, makes sense now. Oh, that's another one I've got to do on Rumble. Cat Turd asked, what is that circle at the bottom middle of the picture? Doge Designer said this picture was taken on Mars last week. Yeah, we all want to know what this circle here is. Very interesting. Cut out. Too perfect. Okay. Reignite Democracy Australia said Liberals actually didn't lose as badly as the headlines say they did. Labor do not have a mandate from the Australian voters to continue on their destructive path. Australia's preferential voting system is undemocratic. It's intentionally confusing to enable the same career politicians to keep getting re-elected. Hardly anyone knows how the preferential voting system works. Uneducated voters can be easily taken advantage of. Only 34% of Australia voted for Labor, yet Labor holds 68% of the power. That is not a fair representation of our voices, which is undemocratic. We need election reform urgently, but we won't get it until common sense comes back to power. Yeah, just ridiculous. They don't even have, like, they've got a third of Australia, okay? That means 68% of this, 65.44% of Australians did not vote for them. Now, correct me if I'm wrong with my math. It's early in the morning. I feel a bit funny. But anyway, let's not worry about that. Rational Aussie said shootings in Sydney, machete attacks in Melbourne. Great day for cultural diversity. Anything to keep housing prices pumping. ABC News Sydney said 2 men in critical condition after a public place shooting in Parramatta. Church Street, Parramatta. Now, I'm glad my father moved out because he wasn't far from there. And Parramatta's going to the dogs. Kobe Thatcher said if only we were all lucky enough to have a leader like this who actually cares about his own country and wants what's best for its people. Look at Paris. Look at London. They're no longer recognisable. Australia is the same.
You've seen what happened when Europe opened their doors to jihad. Look at Paris. Look at London. They're no longer recognizable. And I'm going to get myself into a lot of trouble with the folks in Paris and the folks in London. But you know what? That's the fact. They are no longer recognizable. And we can't let that happen to our country. We have incredible culture, tradition. Nothing wrong with their culture, their tradition. We can't let that happen here. And I'll never let it happen to the United States of America. You've seen what happened.
Well done, President Trump. Okay, Australian Patriot said Trump shuts down the WHO, US cuts $900 million and rejects global dictatorship. May 22nd, 2025, it's official. The United States just declared war on the World Health Organization. while 78 nations surrendered their sovereignty by signing the WHO's pandemic agreement, CA+, President Donald J. Trump and his HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Executed a death blow to the globalist bioterror cartel. The US has rejected the treaty, defunded the WHO and exposed it as a front for elite population control. The WHO is not a health agency. It's a Chinese-influenced biowarfare command centre backed by Gates, Big Pharma and the WEF. COVID was their dry run. This treaty was their power grab, but Trump flipped the table. The treaty was a trap. The CA Plus agreement would have granted the WHO power to declare pandemics at will, authority to override national health decisions, tools to force experimental procedures on citizens, a global surveillance system called PABS to control treatment access, the ability to seize 20% of all pandemic resources without a single vote from the American people. Trump said no, JFK Jr. said never. $900 million cut off, instant death blow. Trump terminated US funding immediately. That's $900 million was the WHO's lifeline. Not used not for health, but for gene editing, mRNA bioweapons and tyranny enforcement. With that money gone, WHO's command structure is collapsing. Their fiscal plan is in shambles, layoffs already underway. And how about the 78 nations that signed up to the treaty? Yeah, well, I don't think it's going to happen. RFK Jr. dropped a nuke in Geneva. Kennedy took the mic and unleashed it all. The Wuhan cover-up, the fake wet market stories, the censorship machine, the blood money from Pfizer and Moderna. He said it plain. The WHO serves corporate masters, not the people. A new medical order is coming. Trump is forming a new global health alliance free from elite chokeholds and pharma corruption. Nations like Hungary, Brazil and India are joining the revolt. Even parts of Europe are breaking ranks. The WHO is hemorrhaging legitimacy. This is not reform, this is revolution. The globalists lost control. This wasn't about public safety, it was about total control. Lockdowns, digital IDs, climate restrictions, food rationing, thought policing. The WHO was the enforcement arm, now it's crippled. And the war isn't over, it's just begun. The same hands that push the tyranny are pushing CBDCs, AI health passports and climate emergencies. But Trump is 10 steps ahead, backed by Cyber Command, the Pentagon and global patriots. The message is clear, America bows to no one. The WHO fell, the truth won, the storm is here. Well done. Charlie Kirk commentary says, who cares? Breaking, Michelle Obama said she will not invite any Trump supporters on a podcast. She won't be able to sit face-to-face with someone who voted for him without being disgusted. What's your response? I couldn't sit across from you anyway. Wouldn't want to. Thank you. Why does your hair look like Mickey Mouse ears? Anyway, Craig Kelly said many Australians have been suckered into supporting excess migration because it increases the value of their homes on paper. But it's a bait-and-switch operation. It's setting the nation up to accept the authoritarian socialist dream where the government imposes unrealised capital gains taxes on the family home. So one day you own your home outright and the next day the government owns a big chunk of it and you have to pay that to the government in cash just to keep your home. Jack the Aussie said, imagine doing your tax return and your home valuation's gone up by $80,000. The government says, okay, now you owe us $24,000. What will you do, sell to pay it? I want to know. And is this what, is this worth having a high home price when people are getting shot and macheted? Is it worth your high home price? I want to know. Craig Kelly said, oh, yep, I've already done that one. Rob Smith said the Victorian Labor Party government held by Jacinta Allen has just announced the sale of machetes in Victoria is banned. Machetes are now banned from sale. I suggest the federal government stop the import of Africans and start exporting of criminals, send them back to where they come from. That would be more beneficial and would actually work better. Because criminals don't follow the law. So you can ban machetes all you like, they're still going to have them. And this is the last one. Val said, is Cory Booker gay or retarded? Oh dear. If he really did wear this, both. Seriously. Okay, guys, with that, I'm going to leave it there for today. I hope you have a good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. Should be back tomorrow, hopefully. And I shall talk to you then. Okay, guys, have a good one. Bye.